Hey, what is up, guys? It is Harrison Barron, the One Entrepreneur. I'm so excited to make this video. I am putting the best of the best against each other. So when I say the best of the best, I mean the best website designers and editors out there. So who are they? They're Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, Shopify. We have Webflow up there. We have Kajabi, and then Editor X, the newest version of Wix. And I think that's all of them. But I have this beautiful spreadsheet. It took me a little while to make, but a beautiful spreadsheet that I'm going to share with you guys at the end, and I'm going to cover. That way you guys can actually see what my thoughts are. Now, why would you even care about my thoughts or opinions on any of this? I've built websites on all of these platforms. And when I say websites, I mean multiple websites on all of these. I have a ton of knowledge in all of them. I would consider myself an expert in some of them for sure. And I've just used them a lot. And I think I could probably bring in some huge opinions because I have experience with all of these. This is what we use at my company and things like that. And by me doing this, and I'm going to save you a lot of time. And ultimately, that's what I want you to do. I want you to watch this whole video, learn which one is going to be the best one for you, and then ultimately you can make a decision on which brand you choose. Now, I will preface this also. Any links will be down below. I don't think I'm even affiliate for most of these. So, I mean, totally up to you on what you choose. I would love to know what you're going to end up choosing. Leave that down below, especially after you watch the video. I think that'd be really, really cool. But I have a huge insight in all this. I know I could save you a ton of time, energy, and effort. So I want to go through all these with you and what you kind of get versus what you don't get, and then the value that you're going to get. Now, this is going to be a longer video, but it's going to be fun. I had so much fun going through this. I was like, oh, what are these numbers? Like, what do I think about this? So let's get into it. Let's just dive in. I'm really excited about this. So we are going to go right into the first one, which is Wix. Create a website you're proud of, right? I didn't start with Wix. I actually started my journey with Squarespace. And Wix is great, in my opinion. It is the best, probably starter platform out there. You know, it works so well. If you're totally new to the platform, they have Wix ADI. It kind of pulls, you can actually set it so it pulls information from an old website and kind of gives you like a pre-built website. Doesn't work really well. It works pretty okay. You might have to do some minor tweaking, but as far as a time-saving thing, huge in my opinion. They also have a bit of a developer platform, which I really like. It's called Velo by Wix, and it used to be called Corvid, and then COVID happened, so they changed the name. Ironically enough, a pandemic will do that. And then, they have a lot of really cool little website features. And this is kind of the templates that you get, right? You get these nice big words over here, these nice big images, and it really does produce nice websites. Now, there is a lot of stuff that you get built in, and then there's an advanced version of it where you can, there's Editor X, but also you can pay for Ascend, which is their automations and things like that. It's a couple dollars more per month, but you actually do get a lot of automations in there for free. And I'll just cover a couple of these things. You have your creation platform, website essentials, Wix for enterprise, hire a partner. All right, my agency is a partner. You have your business, so you have your e-commerce solutions by industry, business tools. You have your growth, boost website traffic, engage with your clients, and then you have your resources. All of these are going to have resources, and I'm going to actually cover and break down pricing, so I don't need to show you right now, but it's pretty cool. All in all, I do happen to really, really like Wix. It's a great platform. If you're new to starting, it's definitely one of the ones that I would recommend. Now, its bigger brother, Editor X, is actually a competitor of a future website. When I say future, I mean like I'm going to get to it in a minute in the video, but it's a future website builder. So Editor X is great. I actually really, really love it, and it gives you way more functionality than the original Wix editor. Now, I'm not going to go into tutorials on how to build in all of these things, but the Wix editor, you actually have these lines on the page where you're supposed to keep your information in there, and if it goes outside, it's just not going to look good on a small screen, but it does give you the option to edit on mobile. Now, Editor X will actually compress things as you shrink the screen, and in my opinion, it looks incredible. Like, this is built on Editor X, something like this, where you can see these like little drop downs happening in the background. It's a little bit more dynamic. You can have some automations happening. It does look really cool, right? I mean, what you can do in here is incredible. You have a powerful CMS, you have your name, image, description, and in my opinion, this is their way of competing against Webflow. And you have your custom code, right? I mean, it's great. You have your custom code, you have your business and marketing solutions all built in here. It's really cool. It is definitely not made for your normal consumer, though. Wix is extremely beginner friendly. I cannot stress enough how beginner friendly it is, where Editor X is not that beginner friendly. I would highly recommend, if you are, if you're a real techie and you're going to spend probably 3 times the amount building a website on here, but that website is going to look way better, have more functionality and things like that on here. You have your Community X, your shaping design, partner program. It's really cool. If you're interested in becoming a Wix partner, it is a great partnership. You have your hosting and security, website uptime, and then you have your time to market, right? Honestly, I do actually break down like time to market or how long it takes to build these things on a scale 1 to 10. But it's really cool. Honestly, I'm a huge fan of the platform. For what Wix is doing with it, I'm very pleased with it. Features and solutions, design, development, marketing, SEO, business and e-commerce, web solutions, and collaboration. It's pretty self-explanatory. I do love that pretty much all of these, I say pretty much all of them because not all of them do, but they all have an education area, which I think is invaluable. The fact that Wix and EditorX have put together so much content on how to build stuff is huge. They also tell you what's going to be coming up, future releases and all that kind of stuff, and then I'll be covering pricing at the end. Now, the next up is Squarespace. This is actually where I started my journey building websites, and I don't hate Squarespace, but I will say it is a pain in the butt to use. Now, you might be thinking, Harrison, why do you say that, right? Well, in Squarespace, it is very particular on what kind of images you use and where you lay things out. So yes, it is a true drag and drop. It is absolutely the most drag and drop out of any of the platforms that I'm going to show you, but it is very finicky. Just because you can drag and drop it doesn't mean it's going to look good. And there are certain things that drive me insane that you cannot just move around a little bit. For example, if you're lining up these 3 images, it might be an absolute pain in the butt to line up those 3 images. For whatever reason, I've had so many problems just lining up images like that. And before any Squarespace experts out there are like, well, you just got to do a certain thing. Trust me, I got on the phone with Squarespace and they couldn't figure it out. It is very finicky, but if you have the right size images and you have a basic layout, you can make some really nice websites on Squarespace. I happen to really like their functionality. It is super simple. They can kind of give you color palettes like this, which I really love. That way you're not thinking about what font did I use? What size font? What headings, whatever it may be, you could just drag and drop that kind of stuff in, and I really, really like that for different areas of the website. So I will say that. Their templates are by far the nicest in my opinion. Wix also has templates, and actually I think all of these have templates, but in my opinion, Squarespace has the nicest templates, and as far as picking a template and editing it, Squarespace is probably the easiest, believe it or not. Wix is a little bit more advanced, but it's not terribly difficult. Their store works really, really well. How to start a blog. I love their blogging feature. It actually works really, really well. Shockingly well for a website builder that's geared towards beginners. But it's really cool. Explore how customers use our platforms, right? I mean, it's a great platform. I'm not going to knock Squarespace by any stretch of the imagination. I'll cover pricing and things like that. It is a hosted platform on here, so you typically pay about $20 a month, and I'm going to show you guys the pricing and the pricing ranges. But it's cool. You got your products in here, overview, award-winning templates, blogs, portfolios, websites, and stuff like that. I will also say that their galleries and things like that look really, really good. I'm very pleased with them. SEO tools, this is new. Their SEO used to not be that great back in the day. It's definitely getting better. Is it still earth-shattering? No. I would say out of all of these, Squarespace actually has the worst SEO built in. If any haters are out there, I apologize, but I'm sorry. I've just used them all, and out of all of them, my Squarespace websites typically perform the worst. Now, I'm not hating on Squarespace, and I actively, work on things on there, but I will say that it is a little bit more difficult. I know they're making modifications and a big push into it. Their blogging feature was good, but their SEO tools were not that great. Next up is probably one of my more personal favorites, and maybe I'm a little biased. It's what our agency website is built on, but it's Webflow. And the way I relate Webflow is it is the Apple of website builders. So they are absolutely pioneering the industry, but it's really hard to use. I spent a good chunk of time using it and was lost for the most part. It is very difficult to use. You have to dedicate a ton of time learning it and things like that. If you're new or you want to open up your own web design agency, my personal recommendation, go right to Webflow. You can make incredible looking websites with dynamic content and stuff like that. It is by far the best, in my opinion, to create the best looking website, but is also the highest skill cap as far as being able to edit inside of there. I'm going to cover WordPress too. But as far as learning this platform, it is way harder than WordPress. But it is really cool. I mean, it's incredible. You're going to get 99.9% uptime. You're going to be able to grow with it. I mean, honestly, it's a website builder, right? The blog feature is great. Their SEO features are phenomenal. What I will say, it is massively lacking though, and I got to give a couple other platforms the perks here, is their e-commerce stinks. So Webflow, if you're listening, I apologize, but your e-commerce is not that great. But other than that, I mean, you can export the code out of here. You could take it with you, whatever you want. You could build inside of here, remove that. I mean, you could add team members to your stuff so they could go see it. It's really cool in that regard. It has so much functionality. I mean, this is just one of the panels that you can just mess around with, and it is wild how customized you can get. They also have your enterprise. You have other resources, right? So pricing, blog, templates, community, showcase. They have an entire training academy. So if I go to all courses, this is probably the best training platform ever. It's also the hardest to learn, but you can go through all of these: CMS dynamic content, ultimate web design course, Webflow e-commerce. I mean, you name it, it's in here. And there's people that are actually creating additional courses in the community to teach people how to do Webflow faster and better. But their course teaching you from beginning to end is phenomenal. Little dry, not probably the most exciting, but it is really in depth, and they cover a lot of stuff, and they keep it up to date, which is huge, which I don't think a lot of people do. Sometimes it might get a little outdated. They do a really good job of keeping their stuff up to date. Now, the next is Shopify. Now, I put Shopify in here. It is a website builder. It is specifically designed for e-commerce online. It is the best. I mean, there's BigCommerce and things like that, but as far as a website with an e-com store, you cannot beat Shopify. There is a million plugins in there. There are tons of developers online. It is a little more difficult to build a website on, for sure, but the ability to sell, if your goal or your main focus of your business is to sell products, you are a crazy person to not consider Shopify. You're going to pay a little more than maybe some of the other platforms, but as far as having the ability to track total sales, I mean, transactions, you name it, I mean, it's in there. Anything that you could ever want for your store or to know data or anything like that, Shopify has it in there. I can almost guarantee it. And the cool part is because it's been around for so long and things like that, there are tons of plugins. There's dozens of other apps that you can use inside of Shopify that work directly with it, that could provide the functionality, which actually a lot of these other ones like Webflow, Squarespace, and Wix, they don't really have much of. They have more generic ones, but Shopify has a whole software list that you could just pick and choose from, and it works directly with it. By far the best. As far as like learning, their help centers and things like that, their business course, it's okay. It's not nearly as good as you would hope it would be. Free tools, podcasts. I mean, it is what it is. But Shopify, I mean, the cool part is like if you spend a solid 8 hours uninterrupted, you can go in there and you could definitely build an e-commerce website and things like that. So that I do love, right? You have an hour and 33 minutes, 11 minutes, 5 lessons, 52 minutes, and then 13 minutes. I mean, those are the most popular. There are more, but you're not getting the level of depth that you would get from a Webflow. I mean, bar none, Webflow is the best course that you can go through to learn the platform. But other than that, I mean, it's Shopify. Shopify is phenomenal. I love everything about it. You can start your business, branding, online experience, store setup. It's just great. If you're selling anything, don't consider anything else, please. Next is WordPress. WordPress is the most popular website builder in the country, or better yet, in the world. It's like something like 60 to 70%. I've heard 67, but 60 to 70% of websites in the world are built on WordPress. Now you might be thinking, well, if everybody's on there, shouldn't I be on there? Well, it's not like that, right? Couple things. WordPress is the cheapest platform. It's actually free. Number one, you'll have to pay for like themes and templates and things like that. But if you wanted to, you could get this for free, and all you're doing is paying for hosting. That's number one. Number two, it's also been around the longest out of all of these. WordPress has been around for years and years and years and years. So that, I mean, that's it. Like it's just been around longer than anybody else. Wix and Squarespace and Webflow and Shopify and Kajabi, they're all catching up, but without a shadow of a doubt, 40% of the web is built on WordPress. I've heard way more than that. I really think it's probably closer to 60 to 70%. But it just gives you, an idea. Build a site, sell your stuff, start a blog, and so much more, all on WordPress. The blogging feature is easily the best out of all of them. Everything works with WordPress. I mean, literally everything. I feel like, but it's open source. Everything on WordPress is open source. So meaning, sometimes if a company doesn't update a plugin or you haven't updated your WordPress website and things like that. Those are things where you're gonna lack. So this is WordPress.com. There's also WordPress.org. WordPress.org is the open source stuff. WordPress.com is the actual platform itself. Essentially, they're the same thing. You're going to pay a little more money for WordPress.com versus WordPress.org. Just remember, WordPress.org, open source. WordPress.com, it's not open source. It's owned by a company. A lot more limitations on what you can and can't do. This is the common board, of what people see and stuff like that, as opposed to this WordPress.com layout. And there's the pricing. I actually don't cover WordPress.com pricing at the end, but it's anywhere between $4 to $45. $8 seems to be the more reasonable number in here. But it's cool. I mean, it's a good website builder. You can do a lot with it, but that might be a bad thing. Being able to do or having too much freedom is sometimes a bad thing. So I will preface that with that. Now, the next one is a website builder. It is kind of an all-in-one, and the reason why I threw it in here, this is Kajabi. You've heard me talk about Kajabi before, is because it literally combines everything. So you can get a website, you can get landing pages, you can get email automations. I mean, you can get, it's just the list goes on and on. Funnels, checkout pages, the whole nine, processing, everything could be built in Kajabi. So it gives you, it's the master of an LMS, learning management system, and the jack of all trades, right? It's definitely not the best for, if you want the best and most high functioning website, it's probably not going to be there. But what it is going to do is it's going to simplify and bring a bunch of these apps, right, all into one. So you have ActiveCampaign, I believe this is Lead Pages, that's ClickFunnels, MailChimp, Samcart, WordPress, WooCommerce, Wix, Squarespace, right? These are all in here. It will replace all of them. Yes, it is true. I think it's the jack of all trades, master of LMS. That's what it is. It's a learning management system. But it's great. I mean, they're what they preach and things like that, right? Replaces Teachable, Kartra, Thinkific. You got Wix, WordPress, Squarespace, websites. I mean, their websites look great. I'm not going to lie. If you get a developer or you spend the time, their websites are phenomenal. And honestly, their website editor is really not that hard. It's a little more advanced than some, but it's not nearly the most advanced on this list. You can get paid on your terms, Samcart, WooCommerce, and Fusionsoft. Integrates with a bunch of stuff too through Zapier. So do all of these, by the way. Barometrics, Samcart, beautiful emails. And I got to give it to them as far as like a company that's like really working and listening to their community. Kajabi takes the cake, no doubt in my mind. I really do love that. They have a great email service, fast way to integrate pages and things like that. And it's just all around. It's a great software. The community is the best out of all of them. I'm in groups with all of these people, members of all of these sites, and Kajabi has the best and most helpful group out there, hands down, no questions asked. It is also the most expensive out of the box out of all of these. So I will say that as well. But it's really cool. It's a great platform. If you want to bring stuff on the go, you can have your own mobile app. It's the Kajabi app, but you can give it to your customers if you're teaching something and things like that. Now, I have had people, or I've seen people sell physical goods on here as well. It does work for that, but it's more for LMS, more for digital stuff on there. But blogging features it has, SEO features it has, and things like that. And now we've kind of run through the gamut of all of these. So now I want to go through my little Excel sheet and just kind of give you guys my thoughts and opinions on all of these websites now that we've covered them all. So let's just open it up. Let's go for it. Super basic Excel sheet here, and I just want to go through them all. I think that there is a huge amount of value in here for people, and I'm just going to make this a touch bigger. 36. Oh boy, I'm sorry. I may have messed that up. We're just going to beef these up. And while I'm beefing it up, you guys could take a look at these numbers. And this is just, look, this is purely my opinion on all of these platforms. So I rated all of these. So this is based on my experience in using all of these platforms, and I went through them. So ease of use, Wix is definitely an 8. It's definitely not a 10, but it's not a 5. It's pretty easy to use. There are some things that are a little quirky on it. Editor X, definitely way harder. It's not impossible. If you spend the time, you could definitely use it for sure. Squarespace, I put that right in the middle. I mean, it's good, it's friendly, but it's not too friendly. Webflow, I had to give a 5. I would even potentially lower it one more, but I give it a 5. It's definitely not the hardest to use, and the reason why I give it a 5 is because they do have a great course center where if you're having problems or things like that, you can just go in there and learn it. It's not that difficult to use. There's a little bit of functionality, but it's not easy to use for sure. I would put it right in the middle. Number 4 is Shopify. It's just, it's really good at selling things online. That's what it's for, right? As far as building a really in-depth website, you're going to have to do some custom coding or get somebody's template and things like that. Now, WordPress is in number 3. WordPress, if you've never set it up before, can be extremely challenging. So keep that in mind. If you're going to use WordPress, don't get me wrong, it has great, it's got tens in other spots compared to most of these other companies. But as far as ease of use, your first time setting it up, if you've never set it up before, you need to watch a tutorial and follow step by step setting up your first WordPress website. And then I gave Kajabi a 7. I think it's like Squarespace. It fits right in the middle. It's not the easiest, but it's not nearly that hard. And it's got a great support community. Next, I'm going to be covering SEO capabilities. So I took this based on the ability to execute SEO stuff inside of the program. Now, this doesn't take into consideration content creation or anything else. This is purely just the ability to do headings, to do metadata, titles, and things like that, and what their recommendations are. I don't know why I said that so weird, versus, not having that, or just no guidance at all, or not having it entirely, or it being extremely confusing. So right off the bat, I gave Wix an 8. They do have a great SEO system for beginners. If you are advanced in SEO and things like that, it's not going to be that great. But if you do not know anything about SEO, it will walk you through exactly what you need to do. And it will even connect it right to your Google Search Console. So that way, you don't even have to think about it, which in my opinion is a huge win. Most people don't know how to set that up. Next is Editor X. Same thing, same exact principles and all that kind of stuff. They both allow for H1 through 6. They also offer titles, metadata, all that kind of stuff. Squarespace, I probably should have done maybe a little bit lower than an 8, but it does have it there. It's not as easy as Wix. I couldn't make Wix or Editor X a 10 or a 9 because there is a little bit of things, there's a little bit of less functionality compared to Webflow and WordPress. Next is going to be Webflow. Webflow is incredible. The fact that you can pass data through and things like that. I gave it a 9.5 just because I know that WordPress is better. I've just seen better results as far as the, almost pound for pound, I would say, or dollar for dollar. WordPress is just the best as far as SEO capabilities. Shopify, again, an 8. It's all there. It isn't as guided as Wix, but it's there. You can do it. It works quite well. WordPress, it's a 10. I mean, WordPress is the best way to get found online, no doubt about it. There's a lot of things that stink with WordPress, but that is definitely a 10. Kajabi, I gave a 7. It's good. It's not great. It's not bad. It's right in the middle. None of them are bad in any of these areas. Remember, when I'm going through all this, I picked the best platforms, the most commonly used and the best platforms. You're not going to see GoDaddy website builder on here. You're not going to see Constant Contact website builder in here. You're not going to find like some random program out there. Like, these are the best of the best billion-dollar companies and things like that that are progressively growing and making a huge impact as far as website builders. Built-in tools. As far as built-in tools, like when I say built-in, I mean it's baked into the program. You're not bringing extra stuff in. I had to give Wix a 10. Honestly, their built-in tools are incredible. Editor X, a 10 again. Squarespace, their built-in tools are great. Honestly, it just works really, really well. Webflow, it's too much. I can't believe I'm saying that. And they do lack some tools, as far as capture or recapture and things like that. That's just personally my experience. I gave Shopify a 9. I don't think it's as robust as Wix, but there is a huge amount of tools and things like that that you can tap into. WordPress comes with 0 tools. You have to put everything in there. That is probably one of the lowest numbers that you're going to see on here, a 2, because it's all plug and play. You have to get plugins for just about everything, depending on what you want to do. Even the builder itself, you have to either get Elementor or Divi or whatever other, theme builder you want or builder you want. That's where you're going to go. And then Kajabi has a ton of built-in tools. It's definitely not nearly as robust as, the other ones, but it's good. It's definitely not bad. I would put, it's enough to be good, but it's not enough to be great. Next is blogging features. I gave Wix a 6. Their blogging feature just isn't quite there yet. We were doing some blogs on the original company website, or my original company website, and it was good. It wasn't great. Same thing with EditorX. They're essentially the same company. Next is Squarespace. I gave it a 7. There's a little bit more functionality. You have the ability to add more headers and things like that. I gave Webflow a 10. Their blogging features are the greatest other than WordPress. I mean, the fact that it's all built in is just beautiful, but it has full functionality. There's nothing I see that's missing in there at all. Next is going to be Shopify. They're good. There's a little limitations in there depending on what theme you pick and stuff like that. That's the only area that I see that it struggles a little bit in. WordPress, I mean, it's a 10. I mean, it's the greatest blogging platform out there. And then you have Kajabi. I'd give it a 9. You have pretty much everything you could want. It's not as good as WordPress or Webflow, but honestly, it's just about right there. I mean, it's a little less in functionality, and that's why I gave it a 9 and not a 10. Useful plugins. So Wix has a couple plugins that work where they're like third-party apps that you could just work with Wix. So I gave Wix, EditorX 3s, Squarespace 1. They really don't have a big selection. I know that they're in the process of working on it. I don't think it's been implemented yet, and that's why I said that. Like, it slacks. Next is going to be Webflow. Same thing. There's very limited stuff when it can go in there. It's a little bit more advanced than Squarespace, and there's a little bit more functionality in there, but it's not quite there just yet. Next, you're going to have Shopify. Shopify and WordPress are straight 10s. I mean, they have a library of things that could plug in. I mean, the vastness of it is incredible. There's companies that all they do to make money is build Shopify or WordPress plugins, and that's their whole income stream. So really, really cool. They both got 10s. I mean, you want it, it's probably out there. And then I gave Kajabi 0. There's really no plugins for Kajabi. They do give you the ability to custom code, but as far as like straight plugins, there's really not that many. Now, there's other integrations such as Zapier, but not built-in plugins. They don't offer any of them, which is fine. Like, I'm not hating on them by any stretch of the imagination, but that is one area that if you're looking for like, hey, do I have a lot of options? They don't have any options. Next is coding. I just put it in there so that all of these can be coded. You can have somebody go in there, a programmer, and add code, remove code, or adjust and modify code. Across the board, they can all do that. Wix, you just have to go into the developer area. Same thing with EditorX. Squarespace, I mean, same thing. The coding features are usually more expensive in all of these, but it's there. I mean, you can make code. Next is going to be automations. So the baked-in automations or a program that is part of the company as far as automations go, these are my scores. So I gave Wix an 8. They have Ascend. It's phenomenal. Same thing with EditorX. There's a lot that you can do in there. It's not quite the full function of a CRM, but it's close. So I gave them both 8s. Squarespace, I don't see the functionality in there. They just haven't done it yet, which is fine. I mean, it has its perks in other areas. Webflow does have a bit of automation, and the reason why it has a higher score than like a 5 at Squarespace is because of their ability to be dynamic and create dynamic content and things like that. So in automations, it's different in other areas where normally you would have to go in and adjust certain things, or you'd have to tell, hey, this is on the sitemap, this is where, or use this as the title and things like that. Once you do it, the automation is there and that kind of stuff. So I definitely like that. Shopify, a decent amount of automations. It's definitely not, it's not baked in like Wix. So I give it a 7 also. WordPress, It has the ability to have a million automations. It has the ability to have a million automations. Some of the editors have automations built into it and stuff like that. Ultimately, it's up to you. Yes, some of them are going to be plugins, but the ability to have an unlimited number of plugins or custom code and automation, things like that, I had to give it a 10 because it's just, there's so much room for opportunity in there. And then Kajabi has built-in automations, email sequences, when people do certain things. It's a little more confusing than I'd like it to be, but other than that, it's fine. I gave it a solid 8 on there. Now, hosting, this is for when your website needs a home. So the only one that's outsourced is going to be WordPress. So you're going to set up your WordPress on either a Bluehost or a GoDaddy or something like that. That's it. Other than that, all of these have hosting. So Wix has its own hosting, EditorX has its own hosting, Squarespace, Webflow, Shopify, and Kajabi. They all have their own hosting. You do not need to set up a hosting server for any of these other than WordPress. Now, you can if you want to, but you don't have to for some of them. Now, I put professionalism on here, and I said professionalism meaning a professional look. So your ability to create a good-looking website, I just didn't want it to be really, really long. You can make a great looking website in all of these, no doubt about it. That's why they're on here, right? So none of them have bad scores. As far as like your functionality to make, the full page fill up and things like that, I gave Wix a 7. It'd be nice to use, certain areas of the website, and its tablet size is not the best, in my opinion. So I give it a 7. The EditorX is a 9. It is great. Squarespace, I gave a 7.5. It's a little bit better than Wix because things just fall into place and you just have to adjust it as far as that drag and drop, but it's nowhere near as good as EditorX and even Shopify. Now Webflow I give it 10. Their ability as you compress the screen and things like that is just, it's amazing. I love it. It works so well. You can have different things. You can have dynamic content. You can have things move around the page. I mean, really, the functionality is just incredible when it comes to Webflow. Then I gave Shopify an 8. It's an e-commerce store. I mean, it's going to look great. It's going to look like it's supposed to be a sales page. And fun fact, if you've never gone on like Nike.com, it's $1 billion company. If you've gone on Apple and things like that, now you're not going to probably make those in Shopify, but they're not that like jaw-droppingly good looking. So keep that in mind. It's more of an e-commerce platform. That's why I gave it an 8. What you can produce on there looks beautiful. Is it going to be a jaw dropper? Probably not. But then again, that's not your goal. It's to sell products, not to create an incredible drop-dead gorgeous website. Then I gave WordPress. I mean, you can make such nice looking websites on WordPress. If you know how to use WordPress, it is just a dream as far as that kind of stuff goes. There are headaches in other areas, but it's great. Then Kajabi, I gave a 9. I mean, you can make your website look really, really good on Kajabi. They've added a tremendous amount of functionality. Is it quite a 10? No, but you can definitely make it look really, really good. And then they have a tablet, a phone, and a full desktop size on there. Next is time to set up. So I did this on like a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 0 being the worst, and how long it's really going to take you from start to finish. Now, this is a generic number as far as like, hey, if you're kind of new in this area, but you have a little bit of experience from starting it to a fully finished product. I have to give Wix a 9. I mean, from 0 to having a website look good and presentable in a record time, Wix is just great in my opinion. EditorX, it's way more advanced. It's going to take you more time. Squarespace, it's just clunky in my opinion. I just feel like it's very clunky in that case. So I give it a 6. Webflow, a 2. I mean, Webflow, you're going to have to learn and practice and do it over and over and over again. It's arguably as hard as WordPress in my opinion. It's something that's going to take you a while to learn. Once you learn it, the sky's your limit. But other than that, it's going to take you a little while to learn that. Shopify I gave a 4. Homepage and e-commerce pages are great, but anything after that, if you wanted to add, a bio page or something like that, it gets a little bit trickier. So I gave that a 4. I mean, if it was just a homepage and an e-commerce store, I'd probably give it like an 8, but that's not the case. Usually websites have more than those pages. Like I said, the WordPress a 2. I mean, it's a lot of learning. And then I give Kajabi a 7. I mean, you could have a great looking website up in Kajabi in a reasonable amount of time. Probably not as fast as Wix in my opinion, but pretty quickly. I mean, the editor is great in that area. Then cost. These are all the costs associated with them. I went on every single website. These are the exact numbers that they give you. Now, what's included, I did not include on here, but this is, how much it is. So it's $14 to $39, depending on if you get the most basic package versus e-commerce. Same thing. That's the same thing with all these. The only ones that are more obscure is Shopify, the $299. So they say that this is if you have 2 retail locations. $299 is quite a bit of money. And then you have WordPress, which is $2 to $20. So that depends on your host. If you have a really cheap host, if you have I think it's called A1, right? You can get it for like $2 a month if you buy like 5 years of hosting, versus like GoDaddy, which could be like $20 a year. So I just kind of gave like a general ballpark on that. GoDaddy's nice because it does automatically update your WordPress for you. And then Kajabi, it's more expensive because it's an LMS. It's a learning management system. It is the best one on the market. If you're a coach or anything like that, definitely go check it out for sure. $119 to $399. It's got a good spread, but it's also a tremendously powerful tool for what you get. And on that other page, on the other screen that I showed you guys, it's a lot of tools in one, so the savings is there. And also keep in mind, this is not for the Ascend plans. The Ascend plans could add anywhere between $10 to about $25 to $30 per month for Wix and Editor X. And then the value. So this is my personal rating as far as value, dollar for dollar, what you're buying versus what you actually get out of it. I kind of took the approach that you're not a beginner, but you're not an intermediate. You're probably right in the middle, or you're just getting more towards the advanced side of beginner, or you're just breaking into the intermediate area. And these are my value as far as like what you get dollar for dollar, you being the one that creates it. As the business owner, this is not that take. This is the designer who is looking to either start a business or you're looking to start your own website for your own business. That's kind of the mentality I came in with as far as value. So I give Wix a 10. Dollar for dollar, it's great. The functionality is great. The e-commerce platform is great. The ease of use is great. It really is an all-around phenomenal platform for the amount of money that you spend on it. It really is that great. Editor X, I dropped Editor X down a little bit because it is a bit more complicated. It's not geared towards the consumer level, so that's why I give it a 7. Other than that, I probably would have given it a 9 or a 10, but it's just not geared for consumers. It's way more advanced in that regard. Squarespace, Squarespace, please don't hate me, but I don't really see the value in there. For the clunkiness of the program and things like that, and a similar cost price to Wix, I don't see the value. I really don't see the value. I gave it a 5. Nothing against you. It's where I started my websites, but I got everybody off of there as soon as I could, just because of the pure hassle. Webflow, I gave a 7. It's e-commerce lax, but as far as the ability to create a website is phenomenal. You can create an incredible looking website, but it's going to take you a long time to do it. Their courses are great. It's going to be a lot of work to get that first website launched. Shopify, I gave a 9. It's great. You're going to have to get additional programs to make it a 10, but as far as out of the box, what you get dollar for dollar, it's phenomenal. A little bit tricky as you start making more pages, but other than that, I had to give it a 9. It's just a great platform. WordPress, 10. $2 to $20 a month for a lot of features and functionality. It's that great, but it's definitely going to take you a little while to get your first website set up. Once you kind of figure out your first website, it's cake. But that first website is going to cause you a lot of headaches in the beginning, and that's fine. Like once you learn it, it's probably or arguably the most powerful platform out of all of these. And then I gave Kajabi 10. Yes, it's more expensive. It replaces a ton of other programs in there. All in all, the value, I think, for what you get, especially being able to sell products and things like that through it and subscriptions and all that kind of stuff, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Yes, it's more expensive, but what you get for the more money is just great. So I had to give it a 10, maybe a 9.5. But those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions on all of these. These are the biggest names out there. This is what I firmly believe is what you can expect out of all of these programs. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the description, or not down in the description, down in the comments down below, like what you really liked, what you don't really like about these programs. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? I would love to know, if you're looking to start a website for your own business or you're looking to create websites for other people, This is it. This is my score, right? I'm going to put it on the screen one more time. If you want to pause and take a look at it, I'm covering here, so I apologize. Let me move myself. Nope. Yeah, let me move myself down a little bit. I'm cut off a little. I'm sorry. There it is, 10. So you make your own choices. You make your own decisions. I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say, what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? This is what I've narrowed down to being some of the best programs out there for what they do and the value that you're going to get out of them. Let me know what you think. I hope you guys found value in this. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button, hit that little notification bell. Long video, I know, but I mean, at the end of this video, these are the best platforms. If there is a platform that's not on here, I'm not saying it's not the best, but these are the biggest names, dollar for dollar, some of the best programs in my opinion. I hope this video helps. Like, subscribe, notification bell. I'll see you guys in the next one.